Sometimes one bad piece of news can change everything. It can break a family into pieces and turn a happy home into a sad place. For the Brown family from Alaskan Bush People, bad things kept happening to them like a dark cloud that wouldn't go away. But one piece of terrible news was so bad that it made Noah Brown have to say goodbye to the life he loved. The big question is, what was this awful news and who got it? The answer is way more surprising than you could ever think. The world learned about this sad ending, not from a doctor, but from a heartbreaking video posted online where everyone could watch it. In the video, Noah looked like someone who didn't know what to do anymore. His eyes were full of hurt that was painful to see. He looked like he was going to cry the whole time, his voice shaking while he talked about his relationship ending. Sitting beside him was Rain, but she seemed far away, while Noah was clearly very upset. Rain looked distant and really tired from all the feelings. She looked like someone who had already gone through the hard times and was just waiting for things to get better. There was no feeling on her face as she sat next to the man she had promised to spend forever with. You could tell from her calm and quiet way that she was finished with the marriage and had been finished for a long time. This raw and awkward moment was like peeking through a window at something private that had suddenly become a show for everyone to watch. For fans who had been following their story, it was shocking. But for people who were paying close attention, the warning signs had been there for a while. Stories had been going around for months that something was not right. People saw that Noah seemed to be living in a small guest cabin on their land, not in the main house with his wife and their 2 little kids. They were living apart long before they sat down to record that video. The announcement was just making it official what many people already thought was true. Noah told his fans that he would keep sharing updates about their breakup, but Rain quickly stopped him. She looked at him and said, "No, there would not be any updates." She made it super clear that this painful part of their lives was not going to be shown to everyone. This moment showed everyone watching a big issue in their marriage. For Noah, sharing his life on social media was his work. It was how he earned money after the TV show stopped. But for Rain, it seemed this constant need to show their lives to strangers had become way too much. She wanted her privacy back, especially when it involved her kids and their marriage falling apart. This disagreement created a really bad situation. Noah kept posting videos talking about how upset he was. His posts would get lots of views and people feeling sorry for him from fans, but this sympathy often turned into anger aimed at Rain. People said it was her fault they split up. They said she was mean and didn't care. By sharing his sadness online, Noah was accidentally making his wife look like the bad guy in their story. It was a hurtful pattern where their private heartbreak was used to get more views and likes, which only seemed to pull them even further apart. Many fans had their own ideas about what happened. Some thought that Rain had never really loved Noah at all. They looked at when the split happened. The show Alaskan Bush People was finished. The regular money and the being famous that came with it were both gone. These fans thought that Rain had only married Noah so she could be on TV. Now that the show was over, she had no reason to stick around. They saw her as someone who had used Noah and was now ditching him now that he wasn't her way to be on reality TV anymore. Whether these ideas are right or not, one thing was for sure. The marriage was done. It had been decided as something that couldn't be fixed, and Noah was being forced to say goodbye. But what brought them to this place? A marriage doesn't just break by itself. It usually breaks because of really heavy pressure. And for Noah and Rain, their whole relationship was built on top of constant sadness and family tragedies that never stopped. To understand how Noah and Rain's marriage ended, you have to understand the world they were living in. It was a world full of constant worry, grief, and not knowing what would happen next. From the moment they got together, their life was covered by one medical emergency after another. It was a never-ending storm of family sickness that never let them have a peaceful moment. The storm started with the family's mother, Amy Brown. In 2017, the Brown family got the most horrible news of their lives. Amy was told she had stage 3 non-small cell lung cancer. The news shocked everyone. Amy had been feeling sick for months, but nobody thought it was something this serious. The doctors then gave them a second piece of information that was even scarier. They told the family that Amy's cancer was spreading really fast. She only had a 3% chance of staying alive. Hearing that your mom has cancer is a nightmare. Hearing that she only has a 3% chance to live is almost too hard to understand. The whole family was crushed. The youngest daughter, Rain Brown, who was just a teenager back then, talked about how scared she was for her mom. She said, "It doesn't matter how old you are or what you've been through. When you hear that your mother has cancer, it's going to shock you." The family watched as Amy went through months of really tough chemotherapy and radiation. It was a painful and hard journey, but Amy was a fighter. Against all the bad odds, she beat the cancer. In 2018, her doctors said that she was in remission. It felt like a miracle. The family had faced the worst thing possible and had made it through, but their relief didn't stick around long. The cancer had permanently made Amy's lungs weaker. This made her easy to catch other sicknesses, and soon the family was in another nightmare again. In March 2024, Amy was put in the hospital with a really bad case of pneumonia. Then in February 2025, it happened one more time. This time was even worse. Amy was having such a hard time breathing that she had to be rushed to the emergency room. Her condition was so bad that she was flown by helicopter to a bigger hospital with better doctors. Her children, Bear and Snowbird, told fans that their mom's lungs were in really bad condition. She was having chest pains, and her oxygen levels were dangerously low. To give her body a chance to get better, the doctors had to put a breathing tube down her throat. They put her in a medically induced sleep, making her body rest, so it could use all its energy to fight the infection. For the Brown family, it was like living through the cancer nightmare all over again. They had almost lost their mother once, and now they were facing the scary chance of losing her again. This constant state of emergency became what was normal for the family, and for Noah and Rain, it was the scary background to their entire married life. Just as the family was dealing with the ongoing fear of Amy's health, another crisis happened. This time it was about Noah's older sister, Snowbird Brown, who everyone called Bird. At just 27 years old, Bird started having really bad stomach pain. What doctors discovered was scary. She had a big cystic tumor in her stomach area and 2 more tumors growing on her ovaries. The family was once again thrown into a world of fear and not knowing what would happen. The biggest question was the one everyone was scared to ask. Was it cancer? Bird had to go through a painful wait as doctors tested the tumors. In a clip from the show, she talked about how she was getting ready for the worst. She said she was just telling herself it was cancer. She explained that she would rather be ready for it to be cancer and have it turn out not to be than to think everything was okay, only to be told the worst news possible. Her words showed how much emotional damage this constant cycle of sickness was doing to the family. They were so used to bad things happening that they had started to expect them. Thankfully, the first test results showed that the tumors were not cancerous, but the danger wasn't over yet. The doctors said that these kinds of tumors could turn into cancer in the future. They told her about a serious and life-changing surgery to stop that from happening. They told Bird that she should have a total hysterectomy, which meant taking out her ovaries. This would lower the chance of the tumors growing back and turning into cancer. But it would also mean that Bird would never be able to have kids the natural way. It was a crushing choice for a young woman to have to make. She was being forced to pick between her future health and her dream of someday becoming a mother. She called it the hardest choice she had ever had to make in her life. On one side, if she didn't remove her ovaries, she could get cancer. On the other side, if she did remove them, she would have to say goodbye to the chance of ever having her own baby. This heartbreaking problem was another heavy weight put on the already struggling Brown family. They were a family drowning in sadness. And while they were fighting these battles with sickness, a different kind of sickness was growing inside the family itself. A sickness of anger and betrayal that would eventually tear the wolf pack into pieces. The image the Brown family showed everyone was that of a close wolf pack. They were a family that stayed together no matter what, facing the tough wilderness and the challenges of life as one united team. But behind the cameras, that public image was falling apart. The most shocking proof of the family's inner problems came in a legal paper that should never exist between a brother and a sister. Noah Brown, the quiet inventor of the family, did something nobody expected. He filed for a restraining order against his own younger sister, Rain Brown. The details shown in the court papers were more dramatic and disturbing than anything seen on their reality show. In his official statement to the court, Noah made a bunch of shocking accusations against Rain. He said that she was using hard drugs, including cocaine and meth, and was also drinking too much alcohol. He said her behavior had become wild and dangerous. The fighting between them had become so bad that Noah said that Rain had threatened to kill him. For a brother to make such a claim against his sister showed that their relationship had completely fallen apart. But the most jaw-dropping accusation was one that involved their sick mother, Amy. Noah wrote in the court papers that in December 2023, their mother was suffering from a migraine headache. According to Noah, Rain's response to her mother's pain was to offer her cocaine. This single accusation was a bombshell that revealed the family's darkest secrets to everyone. It suggested a level of family problems that was way beyond normal family fights. It was a moment of betrayal that seemed like it could never be forgiven. The restraining order was the ultimate sign that the wolf pack was fake. The family that talked about unity and loyalty was secretly being torn apart by threats and accusations of serious drug use. This was the unstable and unhealthy place that Noah and his wife Rain were living in. It was a home filled not with love and support, but with fear and distrust. And for Rain, who was already an outsider in this closed-off family, it made her situation even harder. From the very beginning, Rain Alicia was never fully welcomed into the Brown family. She was an outsider who married into a really private and unique group. And it seemed that some members of the family were determined to keep her that way. The tension between Rain and Noah's sisters, Bird and Rain, was obvious to anyone who watched the show. They never seemed to like her, and their disapproval created constant stress on Noah and Rain's marriage. Many fans of the show also had this negative view of Rain. A popular theory among viewers was that Rain was someone hungry for fame. They thought she was like a shark who had purposely gone after one of the Brown boys as a way to get on reality TV. According to this story, Noah, the quiet and sheltered one, was the easiest target. People said she never loved him and was only using him for what she could get. This belief was fueled by a controversial decision made before she even officially joined the family. Her birth name was Ruth Merrill, but as she got closer to the Browns, she legally changed her first name to Rain. This was seen by many as a weird and calculated move. Noah's younger sister was named Rain. For Ruth to change her name to an almost identical spelling was viewed as a crazy move. People felt she was trying to steal Rain's identity to somehow force her way into the family. It was something controversial that followed her the whole time she was on the show and made many people suspicious of what she really wanted. Her personality on camera also raised red flags for viewers. She often spoke in a soft baby voice that many felt was fake. They thought that underneath this phony, sweet outside was an angry and controlling person. Fans pointed to her crazy eyes and resting angry face as proof that she was not the innocent person she pretended to be. Whether these views were fair or not, they created a story that Rain was a villain. She was the outsider who had tricked poor innocent Noah and was now trying to tear the family apart. This constant judgment and hostility from both the family and the public would have put a huge amount of pressure on any marriage. In April 2017, Noah decided to make their love official. While they were on a beautiful hike in Juneau, Alaska, he got down on one knee and asked Rain to be his wife. They were engaged for over a year, planning their future together. They decided to get married on a very special date, August 15th, 2018. It was the exact 2-year anniversary of the day they first met in Hoonah. They didn't want a big fancy wedding. Instead, they chose to have a small private ceremony in Idaho with only 25 of their closest friends and family there. It was a close and meaningful celebration of their love. Noah was the first of the Brown siblings to get married. He said that getting married felt like a huge weight had been lifted off him. He was excited to finally start his new life with Rain as husband and wife. It was a hopeful and happy beginning to a journey that would soon be tested in the most unimaginable ways. After their wedding, Noah and Rain tried to build a life for themselves. But it quickly became clear that living in the middle of the Brown family's constant drama was not going to be easy. The tension with Noah's sisters and the pressures of being on a reality show took a toll on the newlyweds. They made a bold decision to leave the family homestead and make their own path. They moved to Colorado hoping to find some peace and independence away from the chaos. In their new home, they started to build their own little family. They welcomed their first son, Elijah. A few years later, their second son, Adam, was born in October 2021. For a while, it seemed like they had found their happiness. They were away from the family conflicts and focused on raising their children. They were building the dream they had always wanted, a quiet life together. But their dream was about to turn into a scary nightmare. In August 2020, a huge wildfire known as the Palmer Mountain Wildfire swept through the area where they lived in Washington. The fire was devastating and couldn't be stopped. It destroyed everything in its path, including Noah and Rain's home. They lost everything they owned. All their stuff, their memories, the home they had built for their children were all turned to ash. In an instant, their dream of an independent life was gone. The fire forced them to start over from scratch. They had to move into a rental house with nothing but the clothes on their backs. This disaster